nothing can separate us.
I think sometimes shoes start off as a reminder, and they start off as like a time capsule of like what was going on in your life whenever you made the purchase, and now you have these shoes as like a memory of that time in your life, that moment. So back in 2020, I didn't draw on unemployment at all. I didn't. We were supposed to be there for like 4 weeks or whatever they called it, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna coast off whatever's in my bank account and whatever tips I have right now. We'll be done with this, and then I'll go back to it because I didn't want to mess up the benefits. Because in my prior experience, if you drew on unemployment, then like sometimes they would claw back that money. So even if you opened up a claim, they would be like, we want that back later on, and I didn't know what that difference was gonna be, so I never drew on it. So I never drew on it until we started in April, and I just coasted and coasted and coasted, and then it wasn't until about like June that I was like, okay, whatever my like DoorDash orders are, or like whatever my online purchases are, I need some help on this one. So I opened up the claim, and then I was just like, hey, I haven't been working since the start of this thing. What are the incentives for doing this? And they're like, there's a $500 stimulus on whatever your benefits are eligible for. So in your case, it looks like your payout's gonna be like $750 every week. And that started when you first opened your claim back in April. So since you haven't even drawn on yours, we're gonna back pay you for everything. And it wasn't until that back pay hit that I was like, I should do something with this money. I'm not gonna get this much time to do something. So what can I do? So when all the checks hit, somewhere in the tune of like $10,000, and I was like, I think I'll just, freedom of time, freedom of money at the moment. Let me drive across the country and see the states that I've never seen before. When I set out on that journey, I was like, okay, this is the middle of 2020, a lot of like tension happening right now. I had just gotten back from the AK Yoga Festival that I was hosting, so I renewed my license then to make sure that all of my credentials were good. And I flew back to Oregon, and then I was waiting for my new license to show up in the mail, and then I was like, and then I'm gonna drive across the country because all I'm doing right now is playing Call of Duty.
Less than 10 to go. You can win this.
So let me go do something and see something and experience something in the fall of 2020. So as I'm gearing up for the fall of 2020, September 26th of 2020 rolls around, and I'm like, you know what? I feel like this is kismet. The Air Jordan 13 drops in lucky green. And I'm like, you know what? This is the shoe that I'm gonna take across the country with me. I took a Yeezy Zion, and then I took a Croc. Because I want functional shoes, but I want nice shoes. And I want people to know that like I am a sneakerhead, but also I'm driving across the country. And when you have a plethora of, 78 shoes, they can't all travel with you. So I took what I thought I wanted. So I take these lucky greens, I take the Yeezys that I have, and I take my Crocs, and then I set out across the country. Before I even started going across the country, I was like, what else can I do? Bucket list style. And then there was this girl that I was talking to, and she lived in New York, and I was like, we were FaceTiming and we were talking, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start off on this journey, and I am going to drive across the country. This girl and I keep FaceTiming in the middle of this pandemic, and we make each other laugh, and I've known her since I lived in Texas. And I was like, I'm gonna drive across the country, I'm gonna tell this girl how I feel, and I'm gonna like, if I ever wanted to fully invest in someone, because this is like an old school, stay on the phone long time kind of like, I'm vibing with this girl. And I'm like, I'm gonna drive across the country and see all the states I've never seen, but I'm also gonna put everything on the line too, where I'm like, I'm gonna tell this girl how I feel and see if she reciprocates it. And if she does, that's awesome. If she doesn't, I'm at least seeing some of the country and just doing things that, scare me. And that still feels good in a way. And I'm gonna be doing fine because I got my lucky greens with me. I'm ready to roll. So I'm waiting for my license to show up, and I keep playing Call of Duty, and my license doesn't show up for like a month. And it's not until like the beginning of October that it actually shows up finally. And because I don't want to go across the country and my registration's low or my license is expired and racial tension happening and stuff, it's just like all of my credentials are good. So let me go. That kind of stuff. So I don't start off for this drive until like the beginning of October. And I set out and I drive to Montana and I see my godmother and we hang out there for a while, and then I'm just like, okay, I'm not really on a timeline or a time crunch. I'm just all like, I'm just gonna hang out here. Perfect. I'm on to the next place. And I still gotta drive. I've never seen a lighthouse, so I wanted to drive over to Maine. I was like, those are the places I haven't seen, because it's like I'm not on a time crunch, but I know the states that I need to go to, and it's just all like whether I'm sleeping in my car or I'm setting up with a nice little one hotel for a night or something. I'm like, okay, it's just kind of jumping into these places, seeing these things, and then circling all the way back. And nothing really fancy to do with like I'm on tour kind of thing, if that makes sense. So I make it to Montana, and then I drive to Minnesota because there's a family friend, Bob, over there, and we hang out. I hang out in Minnesota for a little bit. And then from Minnesota, I head to Detroit, and then from Detroit, my mom calls me, and then she's like, what are you doing? Where have you been? It's been super quiet. And I'm like, you're not gonna believe this, but I am driving across the country right now. If you play your cards right, I might drop down into Tennessee and say hi to you too. So I'm like, but don't tell anybody, because I don't want there to be any undue pressure that like I'm driving across and you need to see me in a couple days and all this stuff. I'm just all like, I'm just saying I might be driving across the country right now, and if you give me a week or so, I'm gonna show up and just surprise you and just hang out. And I knew that I was gonna stop it and say hi to her because I had already brought all my camera gear and all my equipment with me. And I was just gonna be like, I'm gonna see all the states in the country that I've never seen. I'm gonna tell this girl how I feel about her. I'm gonna stop in and say hi to my mom, record some content with her, because we don't have any cooking videos together, and I thought that would be cool to have like not only the recipe but also cooking videos with my mom making the recipe. So I'm just like, I'm just cruising. I'm on the Michael tour right now. Things are going good. I stop in Detroit. After Detroit, head to New York. I was texting this girl, and I was like, from Minnesota, I sent her a letter, and I was like, hey, I might be, like, I wrote in this letter that, like, I really care about you. I've always cared about you. And I might just be showing up on your doorstep one day to tell you exactly how I feel about you. So I send that letter when I get to Minnesota, hoping that it beats me to New York, and then she's gonna read the letter and be like, where are you? And I'm like, I might be, a couple states away. Hold on to your horses. So I make it to New York. I'm asking, we'll call her Chelsea Marie. I'm asking Chelsea Marie if she's checked her mail lately, because in addition to the letter, I also sent her a hoodie, because I was like, it's your birthday coming up, and here's a letter, here's a hoodie, because if I'm not there to give you a hug, I want this hoodie to be like a symbolic kind of like, this is my hug in the mail for you. I'm driving, and I'm hoping that the letter and the hoodie make it to New York before I make it to New York. So I had already asked for her address before I drove across the country, because I was like, yeah, if I just want to write you a letter, and I'm getting back into penmanship and all this stuff. So then I'm just like, hey, what have you been up to? And she's like, just been painting, just been, hanging out. I think she had a new cat named Tequila. So she was hanging out with her new cat, Tequila. And I was like, you check your mail or whatever? And then she's like, no. And I was like, maybe you should go check it. And then she goes and checks it, and then she's like, I have a package from you. And I was like, maybe you should open. And by this point, I'm in a hotel in like New Jersey, and I'm like, what are you doing with that package? And then she's like, I'll just open it later, it's fine. I was like, you should open it now, because I'm literally 3 miles away from your apartment, hoping that like this goes well. And I got the lucky green shoes. I can't lose. Or so I thought. She opens the package, she reads the letter, the feelings aren't reciprocated. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. And she's like, you're not over here, are you? And I was like, I might be in the neighborhood, yeah. But I'm just gonna head out. I'm just I'm gonna head out. And then she was like, she did the what was it? She does the nice guy speech. She does the like, that's okay kind of thing. And I was like, okay, well, I was gonna take you to dinner and do all this other stuff, but I think my New York trip has just been cut short, so I'm good. And I've never been to Boston, and I remember that VeggieTales song. I've never been to Boston in the fall, so I wanted to go do that. And she was like, let's grab breakfast tomorrow or whatever. And I was like, okay, consolation prize. At least I get to spend a little bit of time with this person. I mean, I've known her for a couple years by this point, so that was like, okay, like we hung out in Texas. We had a passionate kiss. She was like, she always came into my Starbucks. She was a bartender on the side. So it was like, we vibe well. We've known each other. We've talked and stuff. And so I thought that like, maybe I can give this thing a shot in the middle of the world ending. Like, it just felt like one of those things that I'd leave it all on the line just to say that I did it. Just to say that like, I showed up for somebody fully one time. Just to say that I showed up for somebody fully, and you know, I left it all on the field. I didn't have any regrets. So it was a lot to have that be shut down, but I was still on a mission to see all the states I've never seen before. And if that was going to be the cherry on the top, then cool. If not, it's still cool. And there's no, you know, I wish Chelsea Marie all the best. So we do the breakfast, we hang out, cool, you're great, I'm great, all right, see ya. Because I don't want to stick around for the whole, I think your whole nice guy speech and all this stuff. I think you're such a nice guy and all that stuff. So I'm just like, I gotta go to Boston. So I go to Boston and I look up diners, drive-ins, and dives, or Man vs. Food. I forgot which one I saw, but I saw that they had this lobster ravioli in the middle of Boston. So then I go into the heart of Boston for this lobster ravioli, and they have those menus that are like, I'm gonna tell you what it is, I'm not gonna tell you how much it is. So I was like, let me get one of these lobster raviolis. Actually, I might be too hungry. Let me get 2 lobster raviolis. And they were like, that's great. It was like $78 for 2 of these lobster raviolis. And I'm like, $78 for pasta and sauce? Okay, I guess I have lunch for the next 3 days. So I get the lobster ravioli, and then I still haven't made it to Maine. So I'm just like, look, I'm from Alaska. If I can drive for 8 hours from Fairbanks to Anchorage, then like Boston to Maine is literally like a nice little evening drive for me. So I was like, I think I can make it to Maine within about 6 hours from here. So let me just start heading north. So I start heading north, and I had already checked in with, I already posted to Facebook that I had stopped in Detroit to see friends. And then my cousin commented where she's like, you should call me. No, she said, you need to call me. And then I was like, okay. And then I'm not, it's like 10 o'clock at night or something. So then I text her, hey, what's up? And she's like, you need to call me. And then from here, I'm just all like, shoot. Like, I think this has something to do with my mom, and it's probably not good, because if my random cousin in the middle of Tennessee is saying that I need to call her, then something's going on. So I'm expecting that she calls me and she tells me that my mom got into an accident and she's in the hospital and things aren't good. She calls me outside of Rhode Island and she tells me that my mom passed away at 7:30 that night. And they don't know what happened, but she's gone. So I'm driving when I get the news, so I just keep driving. I get pulled over in the middle of Rhode Island. I forgot what state I was in. I get pulled over for speeding. I was going 45 and a 35 in the middle of this country road. And then I'm just crying. And I think the officer thought that I was crying because I was getting pulled over in the middle of 2020 with all these like tensions between people of color and cops. But I was crying because I just lost my mom. So he says he's gonna run my name and in the regular database, and then he was gonna wait. He was like, I'm gonna run it because you're from Alaska, so I'm gonna run it all the way back. But he sees that I'm still crying, and I'm just like being silent because it's like, whatever we need to do to make sure that this stop comes to an end, let's do that. So run my name, do whatever you have to do, let's do this. And then he sees that I'm crying, and he's just like, okay, I already checked, there's no warrants in the States. I just made the call to go back to see if there's any warrants in Alaska. I don't think I need to wait at 11:30 at night for them to tell me what I already know, which is that you don't have any warrants. So I'm just gonna give you back your information, watch your speed, have a good night. And then I just drive the rest into Maine. And I pull over in a parking lot, and it's raining, and it's not so much that like I just lost everything, like I don't know where to go now, but it was just this real like crushing feeling that I started this entire random drive out to see stuff that I've never seen before, and to go places I've never been before, and I was still gonna, like, no matter what happened to me, I'd still have everything that I needed that would be close to me. And to set out on a drive across the country in the middle of a pandemic, and to like lay it all on the line for this one girl who doesn't reciprocate it, and then to get news that also my mom has been passed away. It changed everything. So by this point, I am 1,100 miles from Memphis, and I have my dog and everything in my car and stuff. If I was still at home, then I would be like, okay, I'm taking the first flight out and I'll be there. And now I'm like, I'm across the country. I was not expecting this, and now I have to drive 1,100 miles just to be in the same vicinity as all this happening. So this kind of changes things. But I still did everything. I was like, okay, I'm in this parking lot in Maine. I also went and saw the lighthouse. I saw it. As I'm coming out of Maine, I realized that I've never made it over to Vermont. So I'm like, I'm not gonna be this close to Vermont again. So I might as well cut down, cut over, and then cut all the way down. Regardless, I'm still a really far off stretch from Memphis. So I might as well just tack on all these states as I'm coming down. So I tack on the states that I've never seen. Cool. It's very beautiful foliage. And then I just plummet south to start planning a funeral for my mom. I stop in and I see family in Virginia, and then I see friends in Greenville, South Carolina, and then I see friends in Alabama, and then I just cut over to Memphis and start planning my mom's funeral. And I'm making everything up as I go. So then it was just, I needed to buy some funeral stuff. I bought a black shirt. I think I had some pants that I forgot why I had slacks with me, but I think I had slacks. And then I think I ended up wearing these lucky greens to her funeral. And as I'm planning all of this, that leads me to my next shoe purchase, which is what I'm wearing right now. The Jordan 12 Dark Concord. This shoe released October 23rd, 2020, and my mom passed away on October 12th, 2020, and her favorite color was purple. So I was like, this isn't even like a shoe that I really, really want, but it's a shoe that honors her. So I wear the shoe to honor her, and you know, it goes good with purple stuff. I didn't get it because I was in the middle of planning a funeral, but my shoe connection, Nick, he got it. So by the time I made it back across the country in late November, middle of November, I think I made it back, yeah. I had gone to Nick for one pair of shoes, and then he had the dark Concord in a size 14, and I was like, I wasn't even worried about shoes when this dropped, but for like 190 or 210 or something, I was like, I'll go ahead and take that one in honor of my mom. So the Jordan 13 carried me across the country. The Jordan 12 was what I purchased when I got back. So the shoes aren't really like you have a lot of shoes. I like to, when you start getting into like collecting shoes, like the shoes have a story. The shoes have a moment. And it's not so much the quantity and the extravagance of look at all these shoes, but I'm more saying check out these moments in life. Check out these feelings in life. Because they can't be duplicated and you know exactly where you were when this purchase happened or why this purchase happened. So there's just a lot of history that goes into the shoes that I collect, because there's a reason for it.
Hey, sunshine. I love you. Mama loves that baby. Anyway, I know my baby's grown now. But you always be my baby. So, anyway, your mama loves you. I just want to hear your voice. Call me when you get a chance.